We got an early copy of the Siege of Paris DLC, so I've already been playing the expansion, and in this video I want to get you up to speed on what you can expect in Francia in terms of different activities, new gameplay systems, loot and way more. So basically the important info you need to know about with some tips and without any main story spoilers of course. But yeah, I was on a holiday break as you might know, so I did not get as much time in as Dennis, who has already finished the DLC. So he will be taking it over from here. He can tell you way more than I can right now. I'll be focusing on some other videos, so take it away, man.
Thanks, Jordan, and of course everyone, a like on the video would be super appreciated. And let's go. Don't forget to enter in our weekly Helix credits giveaway for a chance to earn 2300 Helix credits. You can enter via the link in the pinned comment, and remember that you have to be a subscriber of the channel to enter. Good luck. So like with the Wrath of the Druids DLC, entering Siege of Paris is very simple. You will have to complete one story arc in England, so either Leicestershire or Grantebridgeshire for the first DLC quest to trigger. And then with the DLC installed, you will receive a letter from Ranvi regarding 2 new people who have appeared at your settlement. Talk to them to trigger a couple of cutscenes, and soon after you will be set to travel to Francia. The recommended power level for the DLC is 200, but with the new level scaling options you can of course make it easier or harder for yourself. And you might notice that your character looks a bit different upon traveling to Francia, and that is because you automatically get your first item by getting there, the Frankish travel cloak. Now don't get too excited over this because it has no perk and therefore no real use, plus it's just a reskin of the Magister cloak we already had in the main game. So I swapped it back to my regular cloak pretty quickly and never looked back. Another new thing you will soon discover when you are attacked by a host of Frankish soldiers is that there are new cavalry type enemies. They are pretty tanky and they can be annoying to deal with since they're very mobile, so hitting them with melee combos can be difficult as they like to stay on the move. There's also a lot more crossbow archers in Francia who hit like a truck and definitely make combat more challenging. Back to the cavalry though, as there is an easy way of taking these new enemies out. Finding a way to remove their stun bar, like hitting their weak spots with a bow or parrying their attacks, is the easiest way to get some big damage in. But you can of course always fight them head on if that's what you want. And by the way, that finisher animation has been in the game for a long time. You might not have encountered it much, but you're definitely going to see it more against these cavalry enemies. And you might also come across these new enemies on one of the new Rebel missions, a new system for the Siege of Paris DLC that lets you take on missions for the French resistance. These systems might look a bit complex and intimidating at first, especially with the upgrade menu, but it's actually pretty simple and we already have a nice trick so that you can maximize the amount of resources you can get from these missions. First, let's explain how they actually work. You pick a mission from the new NPC Pierre or any of his contacts on the map and then travel to the location where a squad of rebel fighters will be waiting for you. There are some solo missions that you can do that have you tackle it alone, but in most rebel missions you will have at least 2 rebel fighters fighting next to you. And then together with these fighters you have to complete an objective which can be familiar, like killing a specific target in an enemy camp, or a little bit more creative, like taking out a patrol before it reaches its location. Once completed, you return to Pierre or his agents to hand the mission in and receive your reward, a new currency called denier that you can spend on rebel upgrades or in a special shop. And you want to save up those denier as one of the armor sets in the DLC, the Reaper set, is unlocked through the rebel mission system. Some pieces you earn by ranking up your infamy level, which is done by just completing rebel missions, but some you have to buy from the new store using these denier. A more in-depth look at that armor set will come in a future video, by the way. And the shop also sells runes, including those new hybrid runes that we've discussed in an earlier video, and some cosmetics. There's also a lot of upgrades you can buy for your rebel soldiers, including upgrades to their weapons, new soldier types like swordsman and marksman, or free ration and arrow refills for your solo missions. But the most important upgrade is the one that lets you increase your squad size. Not only does this help you to complete these group missions, but increasing your squad size also allows you to earn about 150 denier more every mission if you play it right. You see, Joyce figured out that if you look at your mission rewards, you get 50 denier more for every soldier that survives the mission as a bonus on top of your normal rewards. This means that the more soldiers you have in your squad, the more denier you earn at the end of a mission. After upgrading my squad from 2 to 5 soldiers, I earned 250 as a survivor bonus at the end of each mission as opposed to 100, so that is more than double the reward. And sure, the upgrades cost a lot of this new currency, 1450 in total to upgrade your squad to 5 soldiers, but you can easily earn that back the more missions you play. Oh, and picking ranged allies is also smart as they tend to survive longer, and your rewards will also increase further as you level up, as increasing your infamy tier also increases your reward multiplier at the end of a mission. Another great strategy for earning denier is to tackle the solo missions instead. In these, you don't have to worry about keeping your allies alive, and you also don't need to spend any denier on squad upgrades, which will save you some denier that you'd otherwise have to spend on the upgrades you need for the regular rebel missions. Both of these tactics work very well and give you a ton of resources in the long run, so you can buy all that you want from that new shop. One final tip for the rebel missions is to unlock all the viewpoints on the map as soon as possible. If you pick up a quest that is further away, you will receive slightly more rewards as you see in the mission menu, while the ones on top are close by. But yeah, if you're able to fast travel, distance isn't really a problem and you are able to get some more denier without putting in much extra effort. And if you think these new rebel missions are sounding too similar to the royal demands from Wrath, don't worry, as these rebel missions are completely separate from the main story, so you don't have to play them in order to progress the main quest. No, instead, the main story of Siege of Paris focuses heavily on the new black box missions, which you might remember from older titles like Assassin's Creed Unity, which have you infiltrate a location to assassinate a target. These are the most open-ended missions we've had in the game so far, and some of them lead to some pretty cool story moments that we are of course not gonna spoil here. We will only show you footage from the first black box mission that you already encounter after an hour or so in the DLC, so once again, no major spoilers here. But yeah, the cool thing is that you're kind of free to figure out your own way to complete the quest. You will need to reach and kill your target to do so, but how you do that is completely up to you. You can barge in and trigger a fight with your target, but it usually pays off to ask around in specific locations for more information. Eventually, these clues will lead you to an assassination event, which will let you approach the target stealthily if you play your cards right, and then score a kill without much risk involved. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to replay these missions yet, so you might want to make a save when you see him pop up, so you can try out the different paths and assassination options for yourself. Oh, and you can totally expect a video on the multiple ways you can do these missions in the future. And next to this new mission system, the DLC also brings back a lot of activities and locations that we were already familiar with to find in the open world. And speaking of which, I know some people might be worried when looking at the size of the DLC map, which looks a lot smaller than Ireland did. However, this just means that there is less empty space between objectives, and especially Paris itself has a lot of things to do and see, but they're all really close together. Back to the activities now. There is of course loot to find, including the new Paladin armor set, new one-handed sword and sights, which we will all discuss at length in their own separate videos. But when you are out there hunting these new weapons, you will probably encounter another new feature in the Paris DLC, the rat swarms. You will encounter these in specific locations, especially indoors or underground. They will attack you on sight, but you can scare them away by attacking, which allows you to sort of kite them away from you. Some locations have sewer grates that you can chase the rats into, and that will make them completely disappear for a bit of time. If you can then shut the vent off by placing something on top of it, the rats will not come out at all. So it's an interesting new addition that mostly creates some new puzzles for you to traverse an area safely, but overall it doesn't shake the gameplay up too much, as you only encounter these rat swarms in very specific locations. Mysteries have returned as well, something that we of course missed in Wrath of the Druids, but they are back for Siege of Paris, and one of them has a pretty cool reward waiting for you, which we will also discuss in a future video. We also have some new boss fights in the form of the Frankish nobles, which are kind of similar to the Drengir from the main game in Ireland. A cool twist, however, is that one of these is actually a cavalry soldier, so we already have a boss fight against our new enemy type in the DLC, which is pretty cool. And finally, we also have the new legendary creature, which we're not gonna spoil here. We will of course have way more videos in the coming days covering the new weapons, abilities and armors you can find in the DLC, so subscribe to miss nothing, and if you want you can watch our previous video on the Siege of Paris where we go over the cosmetics, bird skin and mount you can find in the DLC, which includes this amazing bear mount. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!